Welcome to Lead with Hope with Brandy Kelly, the podcast where we explore the power of hope, leadership, and resilience in today's world. Each week, we'll bring you stories, insights, and actionable advice from leaders, innovators, and change makers. So let's dive in and discover how you can lead with hope.
Today, I am super excited to introduce to you Sean Gaillard. He is the principal of Charles England Elementary School in Lexington, North Carolina, where he champions creativity, collaboration, and student success. He's a dynamic and inspiring leader, and Sean has been honored as the 2019 Wells Fargo-Piedmont Triad Regional Principal of the Year, and he was a finalist for the 2019 North Carolina Principal of the Year. As the founder of the Celebrate Monday movement, Sean has inspired educators worldwide to start each week with positivity and purpose. Welcome to the Lead with Hope podcast, Sean.
Hi, Brandy. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited about our conversation.
Sean, before we dive into that first question where I ask you to tell us more about yourself, can you talk to us about the Celebrate Monday movement? This is the first time that I have learned about that in reading your bio for the show. So let's start there today.
Okay, gotcha. And it actually, in many ways, aligns with the concept of hope. Mm-hmm. And I always have to give credit to my friend and mentor, and I know he is a friend and mentor to all, and that's Todd Whitaker. Mm. And maybe about 6 or 7, 8 years ago. I don't know, but I always have this copy ready because it's a book that changed my life. It's a book that Todd co-wrote with Steve Grunert called School Culture Rewired. Mm-hmm. And on page 9 of the book, there's a blurb there that says, if you want to bust a culture, why not celebrate Mondays? Mm-hmm. And I had read this book early in my principalship and learned very quickly that culture is the entry point if you want to create a community, a learning community of inspiration and hope and service of students. Mm-hmm. And so I thought two things. One, I'm in a Title I school that was getting a bad rap. And there were other people telling our story, so therefore we needed to make some sort of imprint on social media, and two, I needed to do some intentional work as the leader there to help build our culture. So I introduced a hashtag to the staff called Celebrate Monday, and I said, "Listen, friends, let's just share out the positive things that are happening in our school once a week. Why not on Monday? Mm-hmm. Instead of Monday being the worst day of the week that we're all dreading, it really should be one of the best days, if not the best day of the week, because the students whom we serve, who are in many situations that are negative and impoverished and tragic, our schoolhouse is the thing that they're looking for. They may not admit it, but it is. And in many ways, we may not be the best part of a student's day, but we're the only part of a student's day. So let's shift the paradigm on Monday being a day of grouchiness and grumpiness and negativity, and let's let that be a day of celebration and welcoming and invitation. So it really started off as a social media experiment. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand the power of Twitter at the time. And other schools latched onto it, other districts latched onto it, and it became more than just a hashtag that you threw up with a picture of kids and teachers smiling. It became kind of a multi-purpose activity for many schools that did Celebrate Monday assemblies, or they transformed their morning meeting on Mondays. So I'm very honored and grateful that what really was a social media experiment and really a faculty exercise in helping tell our story has spread to other schools and districts around the world. I knew that I had made it when the International Space Station, an astronaut there, took a picture of our planet and put in there #Celebrate Monday.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, in our schools, culture is the way we do things around here, and so those kinds of activities can really change the way our culture looks, and in turn improve the outcomes for our students. That's an amazing story, and just getting to know you the last couple of times we've spoken, I can say firsthand that you're an amazing storyteller. So I'm super excited to hear more about who you are and the stories you're going to tell us as you introduce yourself to us. So tell us, Sean, who are you? Why did you become an educator? What fuels your purpose?
Well, thank you, Brandy. I'm excited that we're getting to know each other, and I've really valued and appreciated our conversations together. I always define myself first and foremost as a father. I have three amazing daughters who are adults now, and very grateful that my wife and I have been able to be a part of their journey, and that's just all four of them are the loves of my life, and I'm very grateful that I have their blessing. By trade, I'm a high school English teacher, and I got into teaching really based upon a conversation I had years ago when I was a kid with my dad, and I remember asking my dad, what's the greatest job? I was about 6 or 7 when I asked him this. I said, "What's the greatest job you can have?" And he said, "Teacher." And I never forgot that. And then I said, "Well, why?" He says, "Well, they called Jesus Rabbi, and Rabbi means teacher." And that just always kind of stuck with me. And it stuck with my love of school and education. And there were moments in my life as a student where I was very blessed to have a teacher who shaped my life in some way, and I just wanted to continue to be a part of that, and to serve and to be a part of those teachable moments that I had. So for the last 16, 17 years or so, I've been a principal, been a turnaround principal, and I've served schools at every level, K-12, as addition to being a teacher at every level of K-12. And I have the opportunity really to be a sidekick to many heroes. That's what being a principal is. You're a sidekick. You're a helper. Yes, we are leaders, but our job is to be the Robin to somebody's Batman. Our job is to be the C-3PO to somebody's Princess Leia. And so I'm very fortunate and grateful that I've had that I've been on the ground level of many heroic journeys, whether it's a student, a teacher, a parent, or a community member.
Yeah, those early experiences, you talk about your dad, those early experiences really shape who we are and who we become. And I think about all of the people that you've impacted across how many years have you been in education total?
Year 32.
32 years in education. And the fact that you call yourself as a principal a sidekick is a testament to who you are as a human being. There's a lot of people that are principals that probably wouldn't consider themselves as the sidekick, but it's about inspiring greatness in others and helping others reach their full potential. And so that speaks volumes to who you are. So thank you, Sean, for sharing that with me and with our listeners this morning.
Oh, you're welcome. I appreciate that. Thanks for seeing that.
Now, we all need hope in this life, and I know you and I agree on this idea, but hope is not just wishful thinking. It requires actions. So for you, what actions or habits do you engage in to reach your fullest potential?
So And hope is like for many a four-letter word,
Mhm.
and in a negative connotation. And I really believe, and I still believe this, that part of my core as a school leader, as a sidekick, is that someone in the building that I serve, be it a teacher, community member, family member, or student, is going to be the next Beethoven or the next Steve Jobs or the next Sojourner Truth. And if they're not that next hero or icon, then maybe that student, teacher, community member, parent is going to be the grandparent, the uncle, the superintendent, the mentor to the next Steve Jobs or Oprah Winfrey or next Beatles. And so that idea, that concept, that belief is what fuels my hope. Is not only having that belief, but then also living out that belief in the level of service and support and quality of instruction and education and removing barriers, all those things that principals do. That is what fuels my belief. So that if I, at the end of if I'm in a bad situation, a bad mood, or feeling negative, I have to dig back into my core and go, you know what? This meeting could stink. This interaction may not be pleasant, but you are part of some level of a catalyst that is going to ignite inspiration or dynamic action, or influence for someone that could help find the cure for cancer, or for someone that could be the first Latinx astronaut to land on Mars. So I really believe that I'm just a small domino that is going in whatever I'm doing in my small pocket of the world, is going to be a catalyst. This is very quantum physics. Butterfly beats its wings in Rio de Janeiro. It causes a monsoon in Indonesia. Not that we want that to happen, but but again, I firmly believe that. So it's that belief that I really hold on to every day in the interactions and the faith that I have, all of those moments.
Yeah, and that mindset, and I can tell from talking to you, you're a very optimistic person. You have a very positive mindset. And we talked a little bit before we hit record this morning about some of the habits that you engage in to take care of you, as far as mindfulness and exercise, and the habits that you employ to take care of yourself also allows you to take care of other people better.
Oh, right on. And what you said, Brandy, I used to hear for years. Used to hear that for years. If you're gonna be a great leader, you got to take care of you can't pour from an empty vessel. And I would hear that, but I wouldn't listen. and I wouldn't follow through. I appreciate your compliment on positivity, but I'm also very stubborn. And I don't always listen, as much as I love music, as much as I love to engage in conversation. I need to work on that. So part of that, and I had an epiphany about a year ago. Not an epiphany I would wish on anybody, having a heart episode and high blood pressure and stress and those things. And so that forced me to recalibrate many things in terms of adding healthy rituals to my day, and exercise, and getting in tune with faith, getting in tune with the people I love, but also most importantly getting in tune with myself. And so there are various habits and things that I do to remain positive, to remain a good, clear sense of mental health and boundaries and limits and those things. And that I'm telling you, for those leaders or aspiring leaders that are listening right now, please, everything that Brittany just said, and what I'm sharing is so true. You have to take care of you if you want to be that effective steward for yourself,
Mhm.
for your family, your faith, and for others.
Yeah. And I'm in my 13th year as a school leader. And one of the things that I can say wholeheartedly is that habits from my system of hope is a cornerstone. We have to have those highly effective habits in order to lead ourselves well and in order to lead others well. And the system of hope, for those that don't recall, H is habits, O is optimistic outlook, which we've already talked about a little bit. P is passion, purpose, and perseverance, and E is excellence. So as we roll into the P, can you tell me, what is the thing that drives you? What is your purpose?
Oh, wow. As you say that, I'm like so pumped for your book. I can't wait. I can't wait for this book to come out. I am desperate to read it. So what fuels my purpose? I think it really it goes back to how I was raised, in some ways, and then also the example that I try to set for my three daughters. And it really it's a combination of just doing and being good, and knowing that I'm leaving a legacy behind for my daughters, and that my role as father and husband is extremely important to me, and then knowing, um that those who came before me, my parents, my teachers, my past, supervisors and mentors, and current supervisors and mentors, saw something in me that I did not see in myself, and so I feel obligated to do the same for others, in whatever way that may be. As I said, when I walk into the schoolhouse, I'm going, man, I wonder who the next Steve Jobs is going to be, or I wonder who the next Walt Disney is going to be, or I wonder who the next Martin Luther King is going to be, or insert your favorite icon or hero or heroine, there, and it's my job to be a part of that. I mean, think about that. What if Martin Luther King was in your classroom, the real Martin Luther King Jr., and you as a teacher or superintendent or principal or paraprofessional. Now, keep in mind, he's not Martin Luther King yet. He's not given the "I have a dream" speech yet. But what if one of our actions negatively impacted him,
Mm-hmm.
and he lost faith, and he lost, the resilience to create, this vision of the beloved community. What if we were that teacher
Mm-hmm.
to destroy that in whatever way?
Yeah. And we do. We have so much power, and
Mm-hmm.
there's so much power in our words. And what I'm hearing you say, Sean, is your purpose is that of a support person. Really,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you are supporting and inspiring greatness within everybody that you come into contact with. But I really loved the fact that you said first and foremost, you're a support person for your wife and for your girls. That's where it all starts, is at
Yeah,
home.
yeah,
And you have to lead your family well first. Like I always say, lead yourself well, but then your family, and then the people that you serve outside of your home. But we in this thing we call education, we have such an amazing gift to inspire greatness in every person that we have the pleasure of coming into contact with. And what
yes,
we focus on is what we grow, right?
yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
And hope is not rocket science. I mean, there is a science to hope, as you know,
Yeah.
but there's an art to it as well, and there's a simplicity
Mhm.
to it. I think of, greeting a student at the door, greeting someone at your door of your schoolhouse or your classroom. We don't know what that child, or if you're a principal and you're greeting teachers at the door, we don't know what they're bringing into the building.
Right.
They could be bringing in fear, anxiety, hopelessness.
Mhm.
And that one word, that one move. Good morning, Brandy. How are you? It's so good to see you today. Hey, how about them Bears? Or how what happened? What happened with your child's basketball game?
Yeah.
Those moments create a sense of belonging, a sense of hope, and it's so simple. I'm not the best traveler. I have a fear of flying. Now I work at it. I take medicine. I've seen therapists, and I'm better at it.
Mhm.
But I was flying to Atlanta recently. In fact, I blogged about this. I was so moved by this, and I was a little nervous getting on, and I'm doing all my strategies and all my things. And I'm getting on the plane, and the gate agent, as we were scanning our ticket, was thanking people by name.
Mhm.
And she took the time, and again, it was 2 seconds, and
Right.
she said, "Thank you, Sean."
Mhm.
And I'll never forget her name. Her name was Teresa, and I
Mhm.
looked at her name tag and I said, "Thank you, Teresa. You don't know." And I told her, I said, "You don't know what just those 3 words did for me, and now I feel exhilarated and safe to get on this plane."
Yeah.
And it's those simple things that we can do, whether it's in our words, our actions, that for a child in crisis, for a 54-year-old
Mhm.
principal who's a nervous flyer, that make all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And we have so much in common just being human beings. And
Yeah.
when we get to know, when we take the time, make that investment in other people, and understand who they are, something as simple as knowing their name. But then when we go a little bit deeper and we understand what fuels their passion. For
Hmm.
instance, I know that one of the things that fuels your passion is you, like you said, you like to blog. You also have some podcasts. Hope is a passion that we have in common.
Yes.
But another passion that I think is very interesting is you have another podcast about the Beatles.
Yeah.
So, talk to us a little bit about how that passion fits into the whole equation of who Sean Gaillard is.
So I am a Beatles geek. If you look behind me, I have
Mhm.
a couple of Beatle records, and I am very passionate about music, and I play guitar, and I have way too many records, and I'm at home in a record store. I just love music. I feel that music is, like literature and art. It's that divine thread that connects us, and it connects us to each other, and helps us, whether it's with inspiration or hope or what have you. So for the Beatles, for me, on that level,
Mhm.
is the soundtrack for hope.
Mhm.
And I was very fortunate that I had a fifth grade teacher, Mrs. McMonagle, who introduced me to the Beatles, and it was life changing, and that led me on a pathway to loving and appreciating music and art and literature.
Mhm.
And kind of the other aspect of the Beatles, and I think this also fuels my work as a leader, is that there are a lot of leadership lessons that you can kind of garner from them.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most powerful lessons that the Beatles kind of shared with me is the lesson of belonging and inclusion. Everyone is invited in a Beatles song.
Mm.
It's not a divisive thing. But on a personal level, as someone who is African American and very much aware of race, and been subjected, unfortunately, to racism and prejudice and slurs, the Beatles invited an African American musician into some of their final albums that they recorded together. Billy Preston, who played keyboard
Mm.
on the Let It Be album, And in fact,
Okay.
he's credited, and it's the only time that the Beatles really gave that kind of level of credit to a musician. So if you listen to the song "Get Back"
Mhm.
or "Don't Let Me Down," it's credited as the Beatles with Billy Preston, and that
Right.
had an impact on me as a kid because I thought, if the Beatles are going to accept a black person into their
Mhm.
band, and at one point there was talk of Billy Preston being the fifth Beatle, didn't
Mhm.
happen. But I thought, well, man, maybe they'll accept somebody that like me,
Yeah.
and I'll feel included and I'll feel belonged. So that's that same kind of calculus as leaders, which I think is extremely important. Yes, keep the
Mhm.
lights on, do the fire drills, do the safety
Right.
drills, and do your observations, but you got to foster belonging, and
Mhm.
if you foster belonging, then what you're also doing is you're creating hope,
Yeah.
and that's the gig.
Yeah. I love everything that you just said there, and it so resonates with me. I mean, I was never a huge Beatles fan, but I will tell you I am a huge Elvis fan. And again,
I
it
am
comes
too.
from yeah, it comes from my upbringing. My dad, my mom, they loved Elvis. Um, but when you think about that, all of the leadership lessons in these songs and that sense of belonging and the history and the influence that comes
Mhm,
from it, lots of impactful lessons for us to unpack and to share with other people. And
mhm.
that sense of belonging is so needed. Now, as a turnaround principle, I love that idea. That is something that we don't do in Illinois, to my knowledge. Until talking with you, I really hadn't heard about that concept or thought about that concept. But what would you say to a school leader who is tasked with the job of creating an environment or a culture of belonging, but they never feel that sense of belonging for themselves because that happens too.
I have been there. What a good yet challenging question,
Mhm,
because as the principal, and you know this, I think we've talked about this too in the past, is you're the only one in the building with that title.
mhm,
And there are certain things that we can share and not share because of personnel and those things, but it is a lonely gig. Superintendent, you're
yeah,
the only superintendent. There isn't any other superintendent in your district. You're it.
mhm,
And so I, I found, and I learned this the hard way, and I don't, and they don't teach you this in principal school. We really need to rethink principal school,
yeah,
or school leadership, because they do not teach you that the principalship or school leadership at those levels is very, very lonely and
mhm,
isolating,
mhm,
and you feel like a castaway. And I've been there, and that has gotten me in some internal turmoil, in terms of dealing with stress, and
mhm,
panic, and anxiety, and you can get into that depth.
yeah,
Now, the principalship, it is lonely, but it doesn't have to be lonely, and therefore you've got to do things outside of your building that are going to fulfill you,
mhm,
where you do feel that sense of belonging, or where you are not, Dr. Kelly or Superintendent Kelly or Principal Gaylord or Mr. G or whatever it may be. You have got to be intentional and fight for your personal bandwidth to be in places where people don't see you as Superintendent Kelly. Oh, I'm mom. I'm
yeah,
Brandy. I'm
mhm,
Sean, I'm Dad, I'm
mhm,
SG. Whatever you've got to. Yes, the gig is 24/7, but don't let it do that, friends. Don't
right,
let that do that to you. So you've got to find those places, whether it's working out, whether it's your church, your temple,
mhm,
whether it is nature, record store, what,
mm,
whatever it may be. You
mhm,
got to get in tune with yourself, and you got to stay in tune. Hold on to those friendships, because I lost a lot of friends when I became principal because I put school
yeah,
before them. My family suffered because I put school before them, and I missed out on a whole lot of things because I
Yeah.
put school first. So you can't blur that sense of duty with your sense of self. You got to balance that, and that's not easy.
Right.
Um, I and then I would say to that principle as well. Once you do that and maintain that, get a partner, get a friend, whether it's Brandy or Sean, to
Mm-hmm.
hold you accountable.
Right.
And hey, it's a text. Hey Brandy, did you do your run today?
Mm-hmm.
Hey Brandy, did you watch that cheesy show on Netflix? Hey Brandy, did you remember you said you were going to get together with friends and Netflix and chill or whatever it is? Did you do that? And then vice versa. So I would find that kind of hope accountability partner, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
to help you with that. And then look for the strengths, look for the gifts in your building. You can't do it in a faculty meeting. You got to do it by being in the cafeteria, being in the hallway, being in the classroom. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I could see me, Brandy, if I worked in your district, if I had that honor and that privilege, I would, as the principal, reach out to you as my thought partner,
Mm-hmm.
in that. And would want to be challenged with that and work with you on that. Help me find the strengths in that building, because once you find the strengths in your building, because everyone has a gift, everyone, even that person that you don't want to listen to, even
Yep.
that person is going to get in the way of that observation or
Mm-hmm.
those walkthroughs that you got to do, or that Title I budget meeting you got to go to. Everyone has a gift, and you
Yeah.
got to tune into that, and you got to take the time to be visible and listen and active. It's not easy because some days you just want to close your door
Mm-hmm.
and just answer the 57 emails or just go to the bathroom. Uh, but
Exactly.
but that's key. I think if you find strengths in the gifts in your building,
Yeah.
that's going to help you foster that sense of belonging.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. There's so much to what you just said. And, finding the strengths. And that goes back to what we were talking about before with the simple things, just the relationships. In order to find those strengths and those gifts, you have to know the people that you're leading. And you cannot know the people you're leading if you're sitting behind your desk answering emails all day. And that's hard. It's definitely
Yes.
hard because sometimes I say our offices are almost like Bermuda triangles. They suck us in
Yes.
and they hold us there. But
Yes.
it is when you are stuck in your office that you start feeling more isolated and you start feeling more alone and you don't have that sense of belonging. And we've got to get out of our head and we've got to just go out and get to know our people and serve our people well, support our people, and foster that greatness within them. So my leadership challenge, as we are persevering to offer hope to our organizations, is get out of your office this week. Schedule intentional moments where you are meeting with your staff, your students, and by offering that hope to them, you're also going to be inspiring and providing hope for yourself.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
I love that challenge, and you have to. You got to get out, and whether you put that on your Google Calendar,
Mhm.
I do that, and then I ask my secretary. Even I put a lot of things on my secretary in terms of make sure I do this. Don't, and even if I say no, you got to push me out the door. And
Yeah.
you have to build in those levels of supportive accountability to help you be your best, but then also to see the best in others.
hmm Yeah. Assume that positive intent. And I love the fact that you brought up your secretary because let's face it, that's who really runs the show around here, right?
Right on.
They're amazing gatekeepers. They're amazing helpers. They're just amazing people that we're fortunate to have in our schools.
Mhm.
So, Sean, as we segue into the last question of this episode, the last letter of the acronym is excellence. And for me, excellence is just the art of becoming. It's
Mhm.
just showing up and showing out and consistently getting better than you were yesterday. So for you, maybe how do you define excellence and how do you bring that excellence out in your staff and students?
Hmm. Wow. you're an Elvis fan, and immediately because I'm an Elvis fan too, and I just think of the '68 comeback special as excellent. So I would be remiss if I couldn't make that reference there, because it really was. There's something excellent about that whole scene, because Elvis was up against the ropes, and he dug deeply back into his roots. He dug deeply into what gave him joy. And so, and that was, singing all those old, Sun Session songs. There's the gospel segment in there. He sang a lot of his hits. He also wanted to try to do something different, and all of those things equated with joy and channeling that joy. And so when I think of excellence, I think of what my dad often says to me, dare to be great. Or the question, don't settle for good, be great, because you are, and you can be. We all have the potential to be Michelangelo, or Sojourner Truth, or Elvis, or the Beatles. I mean, they were all human like us. They all went to the bathroom. They all had foibles and things. So, why not us? So I think for me, excellence is finding the joy that you have, and sharing that with others, and being proud of that, and knowing that your voice matters, that your imprint, that your fingerprint that you're putting on whatever that project is going to do good and bring good. To me, that's what excellence is. It's very aspirational too, right? And very much. And again, I love how that's part of the E in your acronym for hope, which again, Brandy, I'm dying to read the book. I can't wait to read the book. And I'm so excited for you, and how all those letters are going to inspire this beautiful calculus of hope that you're designing in this podcast, and in your work, and all the things.
Yeah. And with every guest that I have, the stories that we are able to share on this podcast, they inspire me. Educators, business owners, people from all walks of life. There are so many rich stories that we can share. And just the idea that you and I have been able to talk a little bit about Elvis and the Beatles, and tying that to leadership, it resonates with some of our listeners, and knowing that no matter what it is that they have to bring to the table, it matters, and they matter, and they're making a difference. We need to know that, and we need to share that, and we need to share our stories. So I am so grateful that you came on today and you did just that. And as I said at the beginning of the show, your stories are so impactful. I do have to ask though, what did your dad do growing up? What was his occupation?
Yeah, my dad worked for R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. He was a salesman, and he likes to think of himself as a cigarette salesman, but he was that and so much more, and made so many gains as an African American in that company, and did a whole lot with the military. He retired as vice president of military sales, and but I also think too, my dad is very much. Oh man, I'm getting emotional.
That's okay. Emotions are part of who we are. Your dad is a special man, for sure.
Yeah, he is. He is. He embodies for me hope. Yeah. And oh man.
You're fine. No, you're fine. Though, when you think about your parents,
sorry about that.
You're completely fine. I appreciate the fact that you have that level of love for your dad, because as we were talking about before we hit record today, the scriptures talk about faith, hope, and love, but love is the greatest.
Yeah.
Love is the greatest, and we have to love one another in order to bring that greatness out. And it is evident that he definitely has inspired greatness within you.
Absolutely, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful he's still with us.
Hmm.
He's 81, and
Hmm.
he is he's the best man I know.
That's awesome. And that's quite a legacy for him to leave in this world, for his son to be able to say that. Thank you, Sean, for sharing a part of him with us today here on the Lead with Hope podcast. And as we conclude this episode, can you tell our listeners how they would get in touch with you?
Well, just follow the trail of tears that I'm shedding right now. Just follow those tears all the way to Clemens, North Carolina, in the heart of the Piedmont Triad. But I am active in various modes and medium. You can follow me on X at SM Gaillard, also on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn under Sean Gaillard. You can follow my blog, Principal Liner Notes. You can follow my Beatles stuff of Why the Beatles Matter, Celebrate Monday. I'm around. I got a cup of coffee, and I'm happy to engage and connect with anyone that I would have the honor to do so.
And Sean, I can say from firsthand experience that you're an amazing leader and an even better human being. So thank you for coming on the Lead with Hope podcast today. And listeners, if you would like more hope in your life, check out his podcast, Hope Amplified, that he co-hosts with Megan Lawson. Thank you for coming on today, and have a great week.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at teachbetter.com/podcasts, and we'll see you at the next episode.